The phone rang at 5:47 a.m. on a Tuesday that started like any other day in Chinedu's carefully organized life. He was in his home gym, pushing weights that cost more than most cars, his body strong from success and his heart weak from neglect. The caller ID showed unknown number, but something in his spirit, some ancient connection between mother and child that even years of silence couldn't break, made him answer. Hello? Is this Chinedu Okafor? The voice was unfamiliar, heavy with sorrow. Yes, who is this? This is Dr. Adebisi from Ogbamosho General Hospital. I'm calling about your mother, Adoni Okafor. The weight slipped from Chinedu's hands and crashed to the floor like thunder. The world tilted, and suddenly it was falling through space and time, falling back through all the years of phone calls ignored, letters unopened, love taken for granted. What about my mother? His voice was a whisper, but inside his head he was screaming. I'm sorry, Mr. Okafor. She passed away yesterday evening. She had been sick for several weeks, but she refused to let anyone contact you until it was too late. She said she didn't want to worry her son, who was doing important work in Lagos. The phone fell from Chinedu's hand like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The sound of it hitting the marble floor echoed through his apartment like a gunshot. His legs gave out and he collapsed onto the cold floor, his successful life crumbling around him like a house built on sand. The taste of bile rose in his throat. The room spun like a carnival ride gone wrong. His chest felt like someone had reached inside and squeezed his heart with iron fists. Mama! The word escaped his lips like a prayer to a God who had stopped listening. Mama, no, 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 no! He crawled across the floor to his study, his expensive workout clothes now feeling like rags. The letters were still there, still waiting, still faithful. With shaking hands, he grabbed the most recent one and tore it open. My dear son, I know you are very busy with your important work, but I wanted you to know that I have been feeling unwell. The doctor says it is malaria, but I think it is more than that. I think it is the sickness that comes to mothers whose children have grown too big for their love. I am not writing this to worry you, Nami. I am writing this to tell you that I am proud of the man you have become. Even if you no longer have time for your old mother, I know you are making our family name great in Lagos. I show your picture to everyone who comes to the house, and I tell them this is my son, the engineer. He is building big things in the city. I pray for you every morning and every night. I pray that success will not steal your soul, that money will not become your God, that you will remember the boy who used to draw pictures under the Iroko tree. If I don't see you again in this world, know that you were the greatest joy of my life. Take care of yourself, my son. Your mother loves you more than words can say. The letter was dated 3 months ago. 3 months of his mother being sick while he chased contracts and closed deals. 3 months of her suffering in silence so she wouldn't interrupt his important life. Chinedu called his driver with a voice that sounded like broken glass. Get the car ready. We are going to Ogbamosho now. The drive that used to take 4 hours felt like 4 years. Every mile was a memory. Every kilometer a reminder of calls not made, letters not read, love not returned. His driver, Malam Yusuf, kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, worry written across his weathered face. Oga, you there all right? The old man asked gently. But how do you explain to someone that you are dying inside? How do you tell them success had made you successful at everything except being human? As they entered Ogbamosho, Chinedu saw the village with new eyes, not as the small place he had outgrown, but as the home he had abandoned. And waiting for him there was a truth that would teach him the most expensive lesson of his life. The village looked exactly the same and completely different at the same time. The same red dust still painted everything the color of earth. The same mud houses still stood like faithful guardians. The same Iroko tree still stretched its branches toward heaven. But everything was wrong because Mama Aduni wasn't there. The compound was full of people. Neighbors, relatives, family friends, all dressed in black and dark blue, their faces carrying the weight of communal grief. When Chinedu's car pulled up, the talking stopped like someone had turned off a radio. His cousin Biodu approached the car, his eyes red with tears and something else, something that looked like anger. "Chinedu," he said simply, but the way he said it carried the weight of accusation. "You came." "Where is she?" Chinedu's voice was hoarse from crying during the drive. "Where is my mother?" Biodun pointed toward the backyard, where a small crowd had gathered around a fresh mound of earth. No fancy headstone, no elaborate monument, just red earth returning to earth, marked by a simple wooden cross that looked like it had been carved in haste. What broke Chinedu's heart wasn't just seeing his mother's grave. It was the weeds. In just 3 days since the burial, thick green weeds had already begun to claim the mound, growing wild and untended, like nature was in a hurry to erase all evidence of the woman who had given her life to love. He fell to his knees beside the grave, his expensive clothes immediately stained with red earth. His hands, soft from years of office work and air-conditioned comfort, began pulling weeds with desperate fury. "Mama," he whispered to the earth, his tears making mud of the dust. "Mama, I'm here. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry But sorry is the cruelest word in any language when it comes too late. Biodun placed a small bundle in Chinedu's hands. All the letters he had sent home over the years returned to sender because Mama Aduni had moved to a smaller house when the rent became too much for her pension. She had been too proud to tell her successful son that she was struggling, too loving to burden him with her problems. She carried your graduation photo everywhere. Even when she couldn't afford medicine, she would show people your picture and say, "My son is a big engineer in Lagos. He's too busy to call, but I know he loves his mother." The words hit Chinedu like physical blows. Each revelation was another knife twisting in his soul. His mother had been evicted from their family compound. She had been sick and alone. She had died believing her son was too important to need her. As the burial ceremony continued, Chinedu heard the whispers of the village people, felt their judging eyes like brands on his skin. "See the big man from Lagos. His mother died calling his name. Money make am forget where he come from. Success wey no get love na curse." Each whisper was true. Each judgment was deserved. He had become everything he thought he wanted to be, and in the process, he had lost everything that mattered. That night, sleeping in his childhood room for the first time in 10 years, Chinedu made a decision that would shock everyone who knew him. As he lay on the small bed where he had once dreamed of conquering the world, he realized that the world had conquered him instead. He opened his laptop and began typing an email that would change his life forever. An email to his boss, his clients, his carefully constructed Lagos existence. But as he typed, he had no idea that the most difficult part of his journey was just beginning. Changing your life is one thing. Living with the consequences of the life you have already lived is something else entirely. 6 months after Mama Aduni's burial, Chinedu stood in the same spot where he had fallen to his knees beside her grave. But now, the mound was covered with beautiful flowers, roses, hibiscus, and bougainvillea, creating a garden of memory that bloomed like hope after rain. The wooden cross had been replaced with a proper headstone that read, Odunio Kafo, beloved mother, she loved until her last breath. The email he had sent to his boss 6 months ago was brief but life-changing. I resign, effective immediately. I need to learn how to be human again. His colleagues thought he had lost his mind. His friends said he was throwing away everything he had worked for. His bank account agreed with them. Success has bills that don't care about emotional awakenings. But Chinedu had discovered something more valuable than money: the difference between living and being alive. He had sold his Victoria Island apartment, his car, most of his expensive possessions. With the money, he had moved back to Ogumesu permanently and established the Mama Duni Foundation, an organization that provided health care for elderly parents whose children had migrated to cities, and counseling for families struggling to stay connected across distance and success. Every morning, Chinedu visited his mother's grave to report on his day, to ask for forgiveness for the years he had stolen from her, to promise that her death would not be meaningless. "Good morning, Mama," he would say, sitting on the wooden stool he had placed beside her headstone. "Today, I helped Mrs. Adebayo call her son in London. They talked for an hour. She cried happy tears, Mama, the kind you used to cry when I finally called home." His new job was simple but profound. He helped other children remember how to love their parents. He organized video calls for families separated by distance, taught young people how to balance ambition with family obligations, and most importantly, he shared his story as a warning to anyone who would listen. The village children began to call him Uncle Chinedu, gathering round him in the evenings as he told stories, and taught them that success without love is just expensive emptiness. One evening, as he sat under the same Iroko tree where he had once sketched buildings that touched the clouds, a young girl named Namaka approached him. "Uncle Chinedu, my brother don't go Lagos for university. He no dey call Mama anymore." Chinedu smiled sadly, recognizing the familiar pain in the child's eyes. The pain of watching someone you love disappear into the distance of their own ambitions. "Come," he said gently, pulling out his phone. "Let's call your brother together. Let me teach him what I learned too late." Word of Chinedu's transformation spread like fire in dry grass. Young people from across Nigeria began to come to Obomesu to hear the story of the successful engineer who gave up everything to learn how to be a son. He started a YouTube channel called The Son Who Forgot, where he shared his story and interviewed other people who had found their way back to family love. The videos went viral, not because they were entertaining, but because they were true. 3 years after his return, Chinedu received a letter that made him cry tears of joy. It was from a young man in Abuja who had watched his story online and decided to quit his job to care for his sick mother. "Dear Uncle Chinedu, because of your story, I chose my mother over my career. She died last month, but she died in my arms, not alone. She died knowing she was loved. Thank you for teaching me what really matters before it was too late." As he read the letter aloud to Mama Duni's grave, Chinedu realized that his mother's greatest gift wasn't the money she had saved for his education. It was the love she had poured out even when it wasn't returned. And now, that love was multiplying, reaching other families, healing other wounds. "Mama," he whispered to the flowers swaying in the evening breeze, "I finally understand what Papa meant when he said a tree that forgets its roots will wither. I almost withered completely, but your love brought me back to life." The irony wasn't lost on him. He had traveled thousands of miles and spent years chasing success, only to discover that everything he needed had been waiting for him in a small village in the heart of a woman who asked for nothing but gave everything. Success, he now knew, isn't measured by the height of your building or the size of your bank account. It's measured by how well you love the people who loved you first, how quickly you answer when love calls your name, and how faithfully you tend to the relationships that matter more than gold. As the sun set over Abomosho, painting the sky the same colors he remembered from his childhood, Chinedu made his daily promise to his mother's grave. Tomorrow, I will help another child remember how to call home. Tomorrow, I will save another family from the mistake I made. Tomorrow, I will turn your death into someone else's life. Some lessons cost everything to learn, but once learned, they have the power to save everything that matters. The weeds were gone from Mama Adoni's grave, but more importantly, the weeds of pride, selfishness, and forgetfulness had been cleared from her son's heart. And in villages across Nigeria, phones were ringing as children called their parents, letters were being written, and families were choosing love over ambition, all because one mother's death had taught her son how to live. Right now, as you are listening to this story, someone who loves you is waiting for your call. Someone who carried you before you could walk, who believed in your dreams before you knew you had them, who would forgive you for any silence if you just reached out. Don't let success make you forget the people who made your success possible. Don't let pride build walls where bridges belong. Don't wait until weeds are growing over love to realize what you've lost. If this story touched your soul, subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who needs to hear it. But more importantly, when you finish watching, call home, send that message, make that visit, because the grave doesn't care about your achievements, but it remembers forever how well you loved. Your parents won't be here forever, but your love for them can echo through generations. My name is Rina. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned 1 or 2 lessons from this story. Subscribe to our channel so when we post interesting stories like this, you'll be the first to know.